What would you do if the toughest biker gang in town stormed into your workplace and singled you out? On a dusty highway outside Phoenix, Murphy's Roadhouse was the kind of bar where truckers, ranch hands, and wanderers all crossed paths. The neon sign buzzed faintly, the jukebox played low, and everyone inside wanted nothing more than a quiet evening. But the calm shattered when Viper Kane, leader of the notorious Desert Vipers, pushed through the swinging doors with his gang. Their boots thudded against the wooden floor, their laughter cutting through the air like broken glass. They didn't come for drinks. They came for fear. Locals shrank back into their seats, pretending not to notice as the bikers shoved chairs aside, knocked glasses off tables, and spread their chaos across the room. Sheriff Tom Bradley, off duty in the corner, tightened his jaw but didn't move. Even he knew better than to take on the Vipers unprepared. But at the far end of the bar, the waitress Lena Carter kept working, her calm unbroken. When Viper locked eyes on her and smirked, the room held its breath. To the gang, she looked like just another target. Yet behind her steady gaze hid something no one expected, a story that would soon turn the night upside down. What happens when the hunter believes he's found easy prey, only to realize the prey was never afraid at all? Viper Kane swaggered toward the bar, his heavy boots echoing against the wooden floor. His gang fanned out behind him, knocking over stools and snickering as though the whole roadhouse was theirs. Patrons froze. The jukebox kept humming, but the tension drowned out the music. Sheriff Tom Bradley's hand twitched near his belt, but he stayed seated, studying the scene like a man who knew a storm was coming. Lena Carter wiped down a glass slowly, her face calm, almost too calm. "Evening," she said, her voice steady. Viper leaned on the counter, his tattoos crawling up his neck like shadows. "Evening, sweetheart. You're serving the wrong people first." His tone was playful, but his eyes carried menace. A glass shattered in the corner as one of his men grabbed a frightened patron's drink. The room smelled of spilled beer and fear. But Lena didn't flinch. She leaned closer, her eyes locked on Viper's. "You'll get your drink when I'm ready. Not before." The gang roared with laughter, slapping each other's backs as if they had found tonight's entertainment. But Viper's smile faded, his pride pricked. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by a woman half his size. Sheriff Bradley shifted in his seat, ready to step in, but something stopped him. Lena's composure wasn't just bravery, it was control. The kind of control that belonged to someone who'd faced worse than loud bikers in a dusty bar. The gang leaned in, waiting for Kane's signal. The roadhouse was seconds from chaos. Yet Lena's eyes never wavered. She wasn't intimidated. She was waiting, because she knew something the rest of the room didn't. And when that secret came out, everything would change. What if the person you thought was the weakest in the room turned out to be the most dangerous? The bar's air grew heavy. Glasses sat untouched, breaths held. Viper Kane smirked, though his jaw tightened. "You've got spirit, lady," he growled. "But spirit doesn't stop bones from breaking." He lifted his hand, signaling his men to close in. That's when Lena Carter did something no one expected. Calmly, she set the glass she was polishing onto the counter, untied the simple apron from around her waist, and folded it neatly, like she had all the time in the world. The crowd stared, confused. Sheriff Bradley leaned forward, eyes narrowing. He had seen that kind of calm before. "Son," Bradley muttered under his breath, "you picked the wrong woman to corner." Lena stepped out from behind the bar, her boots barely making a sound on the wooden floor. She squared her shoulders, lifted her chin, and with a steady voice said, "You ever hear of Black Viper?" The laughter that followed was almost deafening. One of Kane's men slapped the table, nearly choking on his beer. "Black Viper. That's a ghost story, sweetheart. A bedtime scare for rookies." But Sheriff Bradley didn't laugh. His hand froze above his glass, his eyes locked on Lena with recognition. Slowly, he whispered the name again, almost reverently, "Black Viper." Kane's smirk faltered. Something in Bradley's tone unsettled him. Lena's gaze hardened. She reached into her jacket, and for the first time, the entire bar noticed the military insignia stitched onto her inner lining, faded, but unmistakable. The kind only earned, never bought. The laughter stopped. The gang's sneers turned to silence. And in that silence, everyone realized the truth: Lena Carter wasn't just a bartender. She was the legend standing right in front of them. What happens when a predator realizes the prey isn't prey at all? The silence in the bar shattered when Viper Kane slammed his hand on the table. "I don't care if you're some fairy tale soldier," he barked, "this is my town." His men chuckled nervously, but their eyes darted between Lena Carter and Sheriff Bradley, sensing the shift. Lena didn't flinch. She stepped closer, her voice steady, almost soft. "Then you've already lost, Kane. Because only cowards terrorize the weak." That cut deep. Kane's pride, his authority, cracked in front of his men. He lunged forward, grabbing Lena's arm, only for her to twist his wrist with lightning speed, slamming him against the counter before he could blink. The bar erupted in gasps. One of Kane's men rushed at her with a bottle, swinging wildly. Lena ducked low, her movement precise, and in one motion swept his legs from under him. He hit the floor hard, groaning. Another thug reached for a knife, but Lena's glare froze him mid-motion. She didn't need to strike, her reputation struck harder than any blade. Sheriff Bradley finally stood, his voice booming, "Enough." His eyes locked on Kane. "I told you once, boy, you don't poke the viper." Kane tried to laugh it off, but his trembling hand gave him away. "You think one woman can stop me?" he spat, though his men now avoided eye contact. Lena leaned close, her whisper sharp as steel. "One woman already did." The room went still again, but this time the silence wasn't out of fear, it was respect. Viper Kane's legend was crumbling, and Lena Carter's was rising in its place. When pride collides with truth, only one walks away. Viper Kane staggered to his feet, face red with rage, ego shattered before the very men who once worshipped him. He reached for his gun, hand trembling, the last weapon he thought could still command respect. But before he could pull the trigger, Lena Carter moved. With the speed of a soldier who had stared down death itself, she disarmed him in one clean strike. The weapon clattered across the floor, spinning uselessly until it hit the wall. The entire bar froze. Kane was on his knees now, eyes wide, not from pain, but from realization. His reign, built on fear and empty threats, was over. Sheriff Bradley stepped forward, picking up the gun. "This town's done bleeding for you, Kane," he said, voice carrying the weight of justice. The sheriff's deputies, who had watched quietly from the shadows, now stepped in, cuffing Kane as his men melted away into the night, loyalty dissolved. Lena didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She simply stood tall, calm, her presence filling the room with an authority that no badge, no title, could match. Kane spat bitterly, "This isn't over." But Lena leaned down, meeting his eyes with that same unshakable calm. "It's over when people stop fearing you, and tonight, they did." The deputies dragged him out, his protests fading into the night. The bar, once tense and suffocating, now felt lighter, freer. Sheriff Bradley tipped his hat to Lena. "Guess the legend of the Black Viper isn't just a story after all." Lena gave a faint smile, turning toward the door. "Legends don't matter. What matters is that people can live without fear." As she walked into the night, whispers followed, admiration, respect, and a name that would never be forgotten. Lena Carter. The Black Viper. The story of Lena Carter teaches us that real strength is not found in titles, fear, or empty threats. It is found in courage, integrity, and the willingness to stand for what is right, even when the odds seem overwhelming. Fear may control people for a time, but respect, justice, and truth will always outlast it. Life reminds us that no darkness can silence a heart that chooses to remain unshaken. If this message touched you, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future stories.